The real argument against state-run religion is that it's bad for religion. It's failed everywhere it's been tried. In the United States, where there's no state-run religion, there's a great deal of religion, and religious people have a great deal of influence, indirectly, not directly on legislation, but they have influence on society. In Europe, where there's a tradition of established religions, religion is dying, okay? Now, in Judaism, we're very familiar with this. Great rabbis are those who are recognized by the people. They generally have no official position whatsoever. The greatest rabbi of the middle of the 20th century in Israel was the Chazon Ish. The greatest rabbi in the United States during the 50s, the 60s, the 70s was Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. Neither of these people had any official position whatsoever, and nevertheless, they were by far the most influential and the most respected rabbis of their time. That's because their stature was based on the respect that they earned from the people. Simply installing somebody and declaring him to be the chief rabbi and putting the power of the state behind him doesn't suddenly give him credibility. The fact of the matter is that clerical corruption in state-run religious establishments is not a historical accident that can be corrected by changing the cast of characters or some such. It's an inevitable product of bureaucratic interference in religious communal affairs. It can never come to any good. I'm not arguing for separation of religion and state, and I think that if we make that point clear, a lot of the objections to what I'm saying will fall away. The wall of separation between religion and state, as Jefferson conceived it, was meant to avoid privileging one religion over another. The contemporary understanding of the wall of separation, mostly by progressives, but not exclusively by progressives, is that somehow this wall of separation is supposed to privilege secularism over generic religion. Now, with conservatives, I reject the newer interpretation of the wall of separation between religion and state. But as far as Israel goes, I reject both the contemporary interpretation and the classical interpretation intended by Jefferson. I actually want Jewish thought to influence public policy in Israel. There are all kinds of issues about which Jewish tradition has important things to say, and I want that voice to be heard. I would even like for that voice to sometimes be decisive. But what I don't want is for the state to influence religion. Okay, so let me make the point perfectly clear. I have no problem with religion influencing the state. I have a problem with the state influencing religion. However, I also understand that these two things cannot be that easily separated. When you invoke religion in public policy debates, you ultimately are going to have to pay the price. You're inviting the state into religious affairs. When the state legislates Judaism, it redefines it. When the state funds religion, it buys the right, in fact, even the necessity, to regulate it. That's where I have a problem. So how can Israel be a Jewish state and at the same time not have religion strangled by politics and politicians? I think the answer is that religion in general and Judaism in particular work best when they percolate from the bottom up, that is, from the instinctive morality of the people and the instinctive understanding of tradition that is embodied by the people, and that percolates upwards and is reflected in public policy ultimately, rather than from the top down, where a small number of powerful politicians use the power of the state in order to impose certain values. I don't think it's necessary for the state to fund rabbis, to run Jewish institutions, and in most cases, to legislate Judaism. It's enough that the state creates circumstances in which the Jewish people have liberty, in which the Jewish people are a majority, in which the Jewish people are responsible for their own economy and for their own security, and in which the Jewish people have returned to the homeland for which they have prayed and longed for 2,000 years. The Jews will take care of the rest.